All right. What is going on, everybody? It's your man, Chris the Z here, back with.
John. Oh, I didn't know you was gonna cue me in. My bad. What's up, y'all? Hey, we here in real time.
That's right. Hey, and I hope y'all enjoyed last week's session. I think it was last week. We talked about a lot. It was our first call back in a little minute. And this time today, I know John hit me up and he said he wanted to go more into electional astrology. We're going to go into that. We may have some other topics I might want to talk about in a little bit. But you're just going to start off small. This going to be a light talk. It's not going to be nothing too crazy. We're going to ease into topics. If we're going to need to stray away, go into something else, stray away, come back. We're going to do what we have to do.
So I'm gonna read some of these highlights. I have 3 chapters in here that I want to breeze through for the sake of length and attention span. I have a lot of things already underlined in red. So this is the book right here. Boom. I encourage you to go get it. You will learn a lot. They make a distinction between astrology and magic and stuff like that because they mix them both together and then they use that logic or way of thinking to try to demonize and you know prosecute astrology and not make it a science.
Right.
So I'm gonna just go through it just a little bit. One of the things it says electional astrology is one of the most difficult types of astrology. Not the least reason that reason being that results are not guaranteed. So that's another thing to keep in mind while we're doing this work. Results may vary; things aren't necessarily guaranteed because we are looking to how can I say um, take a whole bunch of different variables and be what's the word I want to say narrow it real down very few. You always have to be open and subjected to things being, I guess, a derivative or like like a how are we gonna call it, like a decision tree type thing.
And you're branching off into different paths depending on what you're looking for, how you're looking for it, what other factors come into play. The more information you end up giving, and as an astrologer myself too, I say the more information you end up giving the astrologer towards the thing you want the astrologer to look up for you, the better the reading is going to be. If you're trying to like make the astrologer go off a whim, that's where the results going to vary the most.
Yeah. So continue. When in turn these same people began studying wait. When in turn these same people began studying astrology, the astrology they wanted to use had to reflect the infinite prospect of possibilities that they had been led to expect in as their due in life. So we're looking at possibility and probability at the same time. What I've learned from studying in grad school is that there has been words added into science, quantitative and qualitative science, which is mixed methods. So we are looking at something that is quantifiable. We use a unit of measurement. And now I learned when I went to college is if you can measure it, it exists. If you can't measure it or you can't find no consistency in it either, there goes the scientific method, consistency, being able to replicate something. But we're studying phenomena. Replicate yesterday. Do that shit all over again. Right. Um, Stuff like that. Um, you can't use the same fluid you just burn something with to make that same fire. So we're looking at something mixed method. We're looking at the possibility of things and the probability of things. We look using context. Whatever that we can use to, you know, we're trying to do something of a synthesis. If if I'm words are escaping me right now. My bad, y'all. But that's pretty much what we're doing. So continuing, I'm just going through different things, like I said in here. So if electional is not playing God, then what is it? Simply put, it is the process of aligning one's attention with the flow of the cosmos at a particular moment in time. So, in other words, all we're doing is this. you know, test, you know, testing the temperature, see which way the wind is blowing, see if you have whether it is, depending on the, season or environment for you to, you know, as simple as growing something. That's pretty much where a lot of this started with when people were nomads and then they became agricultural. So the Jewish precept that the stars is not for Israel was already old, and that's in the Bible too. So gotta consider that there's a lot. Where is this book? It's a lot of astrology in that Bible. Ecclesiastes, to me, is my favorite book next to Proverbs. And Ecclesiastes is nothing but astrology,
Yep.
you know. So look it up.
Hey, one of my favorite quotes is from the beginning of Ecclesiastes: "Nothing is new under the sun."
Bro, when they start that off, that's the to me that's the darkest part of the Bible, bro. I've never heard any Bible book start off like that. Like I thought we was having a good time. I thought like everything was like happy and rainbows and birds. I mean, a few wars and famine and Cain and Abel. But I thought it was dandelions and all that other shit. Oof. So continuing on, the statement could reflect on how electional astrology could be seen to grade into magic. Electional astrology has been bound into Hindu rituals as early as the Vedic period because electional was vital for picking the right time for a type of temple offering. Later, electional principles in the West will be applied to magical rituals to choose a time to either invoke a spirit, create a talisman, or create an outcome. So that's where they start getting into how they became together, but also mutually exclusive. So I want y'all to keep that in mind when you start thinking about people and whether if astrologers are devil worshippers. They're mutually exclusive. You could probably find a devil worshiper who do astrology, but that doesn't mean astrologers are devil worshippers. My man Chris right here. Well, do they know your pastime or what you do for your community?
Oh, I don't do it as much anymore, but for a really long time, I was a youth pastor.
Oh, really? That's all right. So yeah. Let's see. And you've read the Bible, right?
A little bit, just a little bit here and there.
A little bit. Okay. Then I'm trying to remember. Didn't Abraham make a covenant with God under the stars?
Hmm. If the last time I checked, I think that did happen. I think also what happened was there were three kings. They were looking in the sky and they were looking for a star and they were supposed to find a baby of some importance. But that's just a tiny story. Just a little
Okay.
tiny book.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole different live stream. Okay. Let's see. So they asked the question, but success is not guaranteed. Why try at all? The answer is because at one at least may prevent a larger failure. So this is kind of quantitative when you're trying to we could say preventive maintenance, you know? So that's something to think about. Let's see. When you elect a time for the foreclosure of a house, doing so does not wipe out all the events that led up to the foreclosure in the first place. However, picking what looks like the best between options is proposed is aligning oneself with the prospect of walking away from an unfortunate situation in the best financial condition that you can achieve. So the goal is to prevent larger failure, you know? So or very least, it is called the cosmos. Well, okay, what is this? Okay, At the very least, it is a call to the cosmos for the best possible outcome. Let's see. Let's see. Call right now. Let's see. Let's see. What's up? Let's see. My bad, y'all. So, let's see. Whether picking a time to spend a solar return or picking a time for electional, both of these actions represent examples of the exercise of free will combined with intention. So, um, so this is an exercise of free will with intention. We're all under the confines of time, right? And time goes into a rhythm. You go outside 7 o'clock in the morning, give or take, you can see the same things going on a little bit. You know, different just a little bit, but then you stick around for a while, you'll be able to see that same motion the next year. So there's something consistent in nature. With this book right here, Time, by Marie Louise von France, is actually a psychologist. What the fuck? Let me turn this so you can see. What the fuck do psychologists have time to write a book about time? Okay, the forms of time give shape to human experience. Traditional thought from China to ancient Greece embodies time in not only God and goddesses, but also in the various devices which measure, grasp it. Time as flux is apparent in flow of grains in the hourglass. Time as a eternal return in the circling aeons of Indian and Mayan calendars, or the tail serpent Ouroboros. Time as a universal pattern of synchronous events in the I Ching, or the astrologer's intricate figure work. The paradoxes inherent in these parallel ways of conceiving time thus reveal the mysterious coincidence of opposites which underlies the cosmos. As mankind tries to depict time in all cultures, the author has a rich array of worldwide visual materials upon this book. Oh, picture book. Marie Louise von France, a distinguished analytical psychologist and colleague of the late great G. No, my bad. Carl Gustav Jung brilliantly reveals her many insights into the function of myth and the meaning of time. So, we said myth, right? We could probably bring this in the conversation at some point. Write this book right here, Myth and Reality. We're talking about myth. We're talking about time and how myth and time, they mix into each other, right? You're talking about chronology. You talk about chronos. You talk about chronos. You're talking about a Titan. You're talking about Saturn. So you talk about Saturn. You talk about Capricorn. Talking about Capricorn. Again, you're talking about time. Again, synonymously. Measuring and things like that. So the ramifications of myth in its place to understand the metaphysical principles. Which is time is metaphysical, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, this was a good read too. It's a lot in here. We could go over this some other time. Time. Um, let's see. Did I say anything that we could just put real quick? Nah. But this is a good book, y'all. Um, back to this one though, right? Because we're doing one thing at a time right now. Where's this page? I lost my page. Here we go, right here. Alignment may not guarantee success, but it is not only. Oh, my bad. Elect. Alignment may not guarantee success, but it is not only. I think I am saying this right. Alignment may not guarantee success, but it not only improve the odds, it also represents our participation in the heavenly writing. I don't know what the heavenly writing is, but talking about heaven, talking about God, talking about divinity, you know. So we try to dethrone astrology. Well, we don't, but people try to dethrone astrology from being divine. But it is. The theory of electional has always overlapped completely with the event interpretation. An electional in action operates exactly the same way as an unelected event that will occur in the same place and time. Thus, we can examine known events of nature of our electionals to study how electional ideas actually apply to real events. So, electional delineation is pretty much the same way we delineate an event of a transit. So, we could use a past event and look at it as an example of an electional, like how people take a screenshot or X-ray or something, and you take it, you put it on the wall, and kind of look at what's going on and things like that. Like when you pull someone's chart or something like that, it's pretty much when you're doing an event. Looking at the event, I think will be a little bit different from an actual person because you're looking at things around what's going on rather than focusing on that person.
When you cast somebody's chart to read their birth chart, is like, for the birth chart in particular, it's taking a screenshot of where the universe was at the moment of their birth. When you're casting any chart in particular, it's like you're taking a screenshot of that moment in reality. You're just going to apply it to that person, to that place, to that thing that you're describing.
Right. So let's go through here. I really don't want to go through too much of this. So, electional astrology has suffered more meddling in its early history by politics than probably any other branch of our discipline. Boom, boom. They talked about how they was prosecuted, stuff like that. But at one point, there was state-sponsored astrology in the Middle East, India, and China. And with that, astrology actually became more complex because people was actually invested in learning and doing new things. So let's see, the crucial component, the use of, let's see, okay, let's see, let me skip that. It talks about Mesopotamia and how Mesopotamia used this to do things for to engage in nature. We'll say that. Let's see, to do. It talks about a lot of ritual and things like that. I guess things that's you know for deity and things like that. The way they saw it, and then the Greece had got their hands on this. It is from the Greek language we received the word cat arc, katark, meaning electional horoscopes. Now I looked up the word Katar no, Katarche, which means beginning or inception. So that's how they saw electionals. They was trying to look at the beginning or inception of something, and kind of like the day you put a seed in the ground and seeing how much sunlight is going to get, whether you grew it during the time where it's going to be rainy or it's going to be snowy. What type of condition does something is something made when there's warm water coming down from the sky from then cold water? You know, you ever put cold water in oatmeal?
No.
When you put cold or even room temperature, right? It just kind of sits, kind of right. When you put warm water in there, and even if you cover oats with regular water, regular what you call it water, it might just probably get soggy over time. But if you put hot water in there, you cover it, steams up, everything start kind of like flowering. So with electional astrology applied to agriculture by itself, which we need to live, you know, um, is interested in the Bible. I remember I used to. You ever went to a church where it had like instead of saying men or women, it had like seed and something else?
Nothing I can remember.
I can't remember either. Maybe it's like some Mandela effect or some shit. But I remember they didn't have men or woman, male or female on the door. They're like seed and something. I
Mhm.
forgot. Let's see. Questions and elections are much closer in content and style than from any other branches because one was often derived from the other. When two branches of traditional astrology share so much practical technique and approach. So this thing right here that we is doing is very technical. Very technical. It's not like we could throw concepts and stuff to be quantifiable, but no qualifiable, like qualitative, but like conceptually stuff. Like we were making up different concepts and ideas of how we intuit things, right? But there is an actual technical kind of way this goes. That's why I think it. I know a serious astrologer would definitely take time with learning technical stuff and actually the practical stuff with this because it's practical techniques. I ain't gonna repeat that again, right? So let's see. Oh, something right here. Knowing the time of a celestial event such as a full moon or new moon, and then choosing to perform whatever that you're working on implementing is as much religious practice as electoral astrology. So, so um, let me think of an example. Um, Easter counts? Maybe not.
No holiday. I say holidays will count.
Yeah. So
Anything that tries to be the from what I'm getting from election astrology and the few things that I know about it and how I do my version of astrology too, is when it comes to astrology, it's trying to find the origin point, the conceptual point, the start of something. Trying
not
to
just Palm Sunday, but like Rosh Hashanah and
right.
um Passover, Hanukkah.
All of these are particular holidays, people that start or symbolize something. That's what everybody needs to understand.
Yeah. So let's see. Once the astrological correspondence were worked out, it was given simple logic to magnify the effect of the piece by electing the time to place it on the body at the appropriate planetary day or hour when the planet in question was dignified. Now, that's a little bit over my head because I'm still trying to understand planetary hour and dignities. But if you are a more seasoned person in that area, this may benefit you. I gotta probably work a little bit harder to understand. You probably already have it, so you'll be able to, hop to it. But I'm just sharing this information with y'all, so y'all can just get some good game. Right. This level of electional does not require an accurate nativity, which allows it to be more universally applicable. So you could do an electional chart about pulling someone's chart. I mean, you should have like some basic, where things were when you was born, so you can see the degrees of, where's what for alignments. But you don't need to have everything rectified and stuff like that, and do all those, processes to fail safe to make sure that you have the accurate delineation. Let's see, standard. Um, It is worth mentioning that Dios Corrives extremely influential the Materia de Medica, the standard work on medicines for the next millennium, contains stones as well as plants and animals as medicine. So it's saying that um, some of the stuff that was used for medication and things like that, they talked about stones, which is minerals and stuff like that, which we do need, like copper, zinc and things like that, magnesium, you know, and of course, plants and aspects of animals
And
are. protein and stuff
And
like
add a little bit more detail. Dignities, for those who don't know, I do know about dignities, is going to be whether a planet is in its home position, is it's in exaltation position, is it's in detriment, if it's in fall. Certain planets, if they're in certain signs, they're going to get what they call attributes labeled to them. Some of them are going to be positive aspects. Some of the aspects, like if a planet is domiciled, that means it's at home there. That means that's a place it likes to be at home. Exaltation is like its workplace. It's like this is where you like to go to work. This is where this planet likes to go to work. For example, Mars' domicile place is in Aries. Mars' home sign is in Aries. Its exaltation is going to be the sun, for example.
Hey, I'm about to mute up and cut my camera off for a quick second. Can you continue?
Yeah. Detriment is going to be, its detriment position is going to be in, let's see, Mars is it's day and night, deacons, its detriment, it's gonna say is Libra. Its fall position is gonna be Saturn, or let's go to Libra for a second to show y'all what I mean. Mars' detriment is Libra. Its detriment is in Libra. The sun's fall, or Mars its fall, is gonna be in, I'm pretty sure when it says Saturn is gonna be Capricorn. Just to give an example of these things. Each planet has, because I know the moon or Jupiter has its exaltation in Cancer. The moon has its exaltation in Taurus. Virgo has its no, Mercury has its exaltation in Virgo. Saturn has its exaltation in Libra. And if you know the homes of the regular planets, if you know the homes of Jupiter, Jupiter's home sign is going to be Sagittarius. Aquarius, its home, or Saturn, its home sign is going to be Aquarius and Capricorn if using classical astrology. Same thing with Pisces. Pisces' home sign is going to be Jupiter, or vice versa. The planet Jupiter is going to have its home sign in Pisces. So you can go through charts like this, look up charts like these online to figure that out. And John was also talking about elements like um, iron, nickel. Each planet is associated with a particular element. Mars, the planet Mars, the zodiac sign of Aries, is associated with iron. This is going to be all forms of iron, the iron in your blood, physical iron, all iron work, people working with iron, all of these particular things. Um, Silver is going to be associated with the moon. So all things having to do with silver, silver coins, silver, and those particular silver works, that's going to all be that. Gold is associated with two things. Gold is usually associated with the sun, and gold can also be associated with Pluto. Gold, in terms of its shine, is bright.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because Pluto is really advanced metals. It's diamonds. It's every form of jewelry that you could potentially want, and I've tested it before. It actually works. Um, Pluto is going to be gold, diamonds, platinum, all expensive luxury metals in general is going to be the sign of Pluto. But gold is particularly can be associated with the sun. Lead is Saturn. Everything having to do with lead, how lead moves, lead pencils, actual lead in pencils, not the graphite pencils. Everything having to do with lead is these are all particular things that's going to point towards how the planets have their own effects in whatever sign that they're in, for one, and two, that actual elements that make up the world around us that we live in is also affected by the astrology around it that plays into this electional astrology.
Let me ask a question.
Hmm.
Can you talk more about terms?
In terms of, what do you mean by terms?
Terms in terms of terms, the bounds.
um
It's the one in the middle.
oh, the ones in terms. That okay. This one, I'm not going to. When it comes towards terms, there are certain schools of classical astrology and in regular modern yeah, in regular classical astrology, they use certain terms to help them determine. I think it might be deacon placement. Like if Jupiter, like it's saying Jupiter is +3. Like at the bottom, you're gonna see the scores: +5, +4, +3, +1, -5, -4. This is how they come to score how good or how bad a planet is if it is in a certain sign, right?
Okay.
So being in the terms, this is just a very simplified version of it because I haven't played too much with terms. They haven't been that accurate when it comes towards like reading charts. I usually use um duads and duwadashamas, like deacons and duwadashamas, to be breaking down charts in particular. So having, for example, Jupiter being in its term, its first term in Aries, that is going to mean Jupiter is kind of like a midway good planet when it's in Aries. And if you think about it, Jupiter is going to be a fire sign, right? It's going to be a fire. It's a fire sign planet. Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius, so obviously it's going to be in a good placement when it comes to Aries. Venus, if you go to Venus in the second line, Venus is on its first good term when it's in Taurus. But as you can see, it's only in term for certain degrees. There's a difference in between the lines. This is what I don't personally like doing with classical astrology, because classical astrology doesn't always use equal house systems, which means their chart is evenly spread out between the signs and the degrees that make up the signs. So they'll say that, oh, 14 or 15 degrees, or 5 to 9 degrees of this particular sign is good for Jupiter, but another uneven measurement, like 1 to 3 degrees, might be Jupiter. Then 3 to 5 degrees might be Venus, and then you might have from 5 to 12 now is Mercury. And I'm just like, I've never used it that way, and it's never worked for me as well as it doesn't work for me well when I use uneven house systems. This is why I don't personally use the terms, but they're trying to say this is another way you can help read the chart to get a so example of it. I use the neck things right next, the Hindu system that's right next to the term, the deacons, because as you can see, they're evenly spread out, 10 and 20 degrees. This is going to be easy. For the deacons, for those who don't know, Mercury, the first planet here is Mars. The second planet is going to be the Sun. The third one is going to be Jupiter. And they're each 10 degrees apart, from 0 to 9 degrees, 10 to 19 degrees, and 20 to 29 degrees. They're each 10 degrees in length. All of these planets are fire sign planets. If you go to the next one, Venus, Venus has Venus has oh sorry, Taurus has Venus, Mercury, and it has Saturn. Venus rules Taurus, Mercury rules Virgo, Saturn rules Capricorn. These are all earth signs. And it's going to follow that pattern. The fire signs are going to have fire sign planets in them. Earth signs are going to have earth sign planets in them. Air signs are going to have air sign planets in them. And for those who don't know, some planets rule two different types of signs. Like Venus rules earth signs and it rules air signs, because Venus rules Taurus, an earth sign, and it also is going to rule Libra. It's also going to rule Libra, which is an air sign. Saturn is going to rule two signs as well. If you use classical astrology, Saturn is going to rule also earth and air, because Aquarius is an air sign, but Capricorn is an earth sign. Mercury is going to do the same thing. It's going to rule both earth and air. The only two signs that are, except from the only planet that rules something that's not earth and air, is going to be Mars. Mars rules a fire and a water sign. Mars rules Aries, and Mars also rules Scorpio, which is a water sign. But that's going to be a breakdown of the domiciles and the exaltations. That's going to be your home sign, the and the your home sign, and your workplace sign, or where does the sign tend to excel. There's going to be, oh, the triplicities, they're kind of like the deacons as well. They're kind of like the but it's going to play into day and night and twilight. Like at this time of day the sun is going to like to be here, at this time of night this planet is going to like to be here, if it's in that sign as well. The bounds and terms are an uneven system, but for some people they may be able to get some results out of it. I haven't used my particular system of astrology, which is cosmophysics, which is a custom made system of astrology with specific rules to it. It does not use uneven house system type systems. Not all systems, if people don't know, even when it comes to astrology, astrology is the study of the universe. It's the study at the beginning. Since we're talking about electional astrology and we're talking about beginnings and things of that nature and intent too, um, everywhere is gonna have a different start. Everybody starts off somewhere different. The hand of cards you have are not gonna be a hand of cards I have. Some people, like Hindu astrology is not Egyptian astrology. There are both schools of astrology, but they start their chart different. They use different systems to run their diagnostics. Egyptian astrology is just something different from classical. Classical is going to use something different from cosmophysics. So coming to know as many schools as you want, it's like coming to know different religions. All religions tend to want to connect you higher with a higher power, with some sort of higher power, or a loving God of some sort, a deity figure. But you're gonna have your Christians, you're gonna have your Muslims, you're gonna have your Jews, you're gonna have your Buddhists, and
You're
all the way.
Mormon,
You're gonna have your Mormons. You're gonna have sub branches within the same. You're gonna have Catholics. You're gonna have
atheist,
atheists. You're gonna have Protestants. You're gonna have people within the same group that don't even
agnostic,
align with each other. And all these agnostics, what is another? There was another. I was gonna say, what was it? Um, not
tantrist,
tantra. You got tantras too. Um,
all
you
of them, all of them.
all of them. But it's basically the same thing with astrology. That's what people need to understand. But yeah, that's enough of this. I'm gonna let John get back to the book.
Yeah. So boom. So the other point that is virtually all human. Let's see. The other point is that virtually all human activity fall under the law of unintended consequences. The simple statement that, from the human perspective, it is impossible to anticipate all permutations that fall out of what may, in fact, be the desire to do the best for everyone concerned. We can never fully calculate the effects of our actions in advance. So I hope that cleared up any misconceptions about how this astrology thing works, right? You know, um, Having a screwdriver is better than not having a screwdriver, whether it's Phillips or flathead. You ever use a flathead on something that was a Phillips?
Doesn't work.
No, no, no. For Phillips, it don't work for flathead. For
Uh-huh.
flathead, it'll work for Phillips if you put it in a certain direction. But you know, it's better to have something than nothing, right? The other point is that virtually all human activity falls under the law of unintended consequences. The simple statement that, from the human perspective, it is impossible to anticipate all the permutations that fall out of what may, in fact, be the desire for everyone, for the desire to do best for everyone concerned. We can never fully calculate the effects of our actions in advance. So that's something to keep in mind, y'all. You know, think everything's like no, that 0.01%. You know, so let me go to this next chapter. So this is an introduction into electional process. Electional. I don't know what's wrong with me today with reading. Electional practice. Much of the electional astrology involves finding ways for the person to stand out. Let's see. No. Let's start right here. Electional developed in a simpler era when people interacted with other people, not with machines. In the interplay with other persons, the native can attempt to convince the other party to make an exception by appealing to any number of unique arguments. The native can, in other words, stand out through standing out, and through standing out, gain an advantage. Thus, much of the electional astrology involves finding ways for the person to stand out. But machines do not make exceptions, they follow rules. Being noticed by a computer is generally negative, and as in being flagged for a tax audit because some number falls out of the normal range. To elect for the machine driven situation, the preferred method may be to act at the time precisely when one does not stand out, to create an environment which something exceptional look normal instead. Uh, Chris, what do you think about that?
That's interesting. I'm gonna let you read a little bit more to get more insight into it.
That was all in the box.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I'd say I do for the most part. I do agree with it. I gotta say if I had to add on to it too, when it comes towards there's no one way. I'll just say it again. There's like no one way to do it all. When it comes towards astrology too, it's like if my system is,
I'll be back. Give me 30 seconds.
yeah, if I want to get to the answer of 4, you may use 2 plus 2 to get the 4. I might use 3 plus 1. You can't tell me my system is wrong necessarily because I use 3 plus 1 and you use 2 plus 2. They both get you to the answer of 4.
Okay. I get where you're getting that. Um, okay. So let's trying to figure out how much time we have.
We have 19 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna read this chapter. This chapter right here is how long? 60. Let's see, 40, 20 pages. So hopefully I get a time. Like we could
Oh, yeah.
just
You can do a page a minute.
pretty much. If you ever attempted to learn astrology, let me take a breathe because
You can skim a little bit if you need to.
you know what? I'm gonna just read these notes. God damn it. Um, let's see. In all events, the first house represents the event itself, and the first house ruler is the main subject of the event. Are which other houses are used depends on the nature of the event. So we actually do that when we looking at charts and stuff like that. Your first house is usually what's in front of your face, and then we look for the first house ruler, like what's in front of you objectively, like in time and things like that. It's usually the sun on the first house cusp. If you're looking at an event, it's also the same thing, environment and event. So let's see. Um, in here it says something about um, the symbolism of the moon separating from malefics and applying to beneficence. This symbolically means coming out of something bad and going into something good, unless the specific event calls for another scenario. So maybe the coming together of something and the separation of something can be seen through um, applying and separating things. And it'll also be reversed. Because sometimes when you want something to end, it could be good. You want something to end, it can also be bad. So it depends on what you're looking at. Um, let's see. First on my list, let's see. What's this? I don't want to skip this. The logic of electional use uses prioritized choices. The typical work on electional astrology is organized by chapters, elections of the first house, second house, etc. The electional student has merely to pursue the chapters to select the models which most like the electional at hand. Except having done so, except that having done so, the student discovers that it is impossible in real time to achieve a chart that has even the majority of the proposed desirable traits. Not to mention that anything during that period that has this nasty Saturn Pluto square that the ancients knew nothing about. Let me tell you, Saturn Pluto transits suck, and it goes for a long time.
Nah, no
Man,
joke.
I've had one. It was depression bad. So let me see. Let's see. What is at least important as knowing the rules to apply is knowing how to apply them, which means understanding that all aphorism, more, I don't even know this word, aphorisms are not necessarily equal. Again, this is not a list one can easily accumulate from primary sources. As a work in progress, I would recommend to do the following. First on my list would be the condition of the principal signifiers, both uh, essential and accidental dignities, and through their applying aspects. Second would be the conditions of the moon, both essential and accidental dignity, and through her applying aspects. Third would be whether the condition of signifiers is getting better or worse. So, we're looking at the condition of things, the condition of house rulers, the condition of planets and signs, the condition of the moon, the condition of what's aspected, and, anything that signals anything's going to get better or worse. Um, Let me see. My bad. Had to get a snap. Let's see. There's a few things in here. Jesus, I'm getting overwhelmed. Let me show y'all this. Is it gonna? It's gonna stop getting blurry.
Nah, I see it.
Yeah. So
Upon notes, upon notes.
yeah. Whew, I turned the page. I'm like, geez, because it's 12 things. It's 12 things. There are many ways for a planet or moon to be afflicted.
Yep.
I'm gonna just go through the thing. It says combustion. One, two, detriment or fall, or could join the planet that is in detriment. Three,
Yep.
the combust degrees. Four, hard aspects with a malefic unless the two bodies are in mutual reception as well. Five, conjunct either lunar node. Six, being in Gemini. Damn.
I'll talk about that one later.
Seven, being near end of signs, which means being in terms of one or two accidental, no, one of the two ancient malefics, Mars and Saturn. Eight, house placement. Nine, the via combusta. I don't know what. Oh, the time between October and November. Um, 10, void of course, and also the lesser use feral or desert. 11, slow of course. 12, at the end of a lunar month. 13, besieged. 14, the azimine degrees, and 15, the in the pit of degrees. So apparently, I have more things to study because there's a few words in here. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'll say this to add on to it. Out of all 13, 14 things that he said, I would probably agree with probably six of them. Three to six of them. And that one is going to be combustions. When a planet comes near a combustion planet, when a planet should be at fall or at detriment. So really about four. Because most astrology books that you read, a lot of astrologers will tell you things but not give you their method about how they come to get to that result. So, what does that mean? If they just tell you this is how X, Y, and Z means, and they expect you to go study it, but they do not necessarily show you, okay, this is how you do my method to figure out how to come to these results, you're just basically trusting somebody else's opinion at that point. Why do I say this? When astrologers are writing their books, or most astrologers who used to write their books at the time, They didn't want to give their methodology out. When I read some of most of these astrology books, I'm looking personally for the astrology in it. When it comes to this particular book that John is reading, it is very, very, very good when it comes to giving its examples, its alliterations, its talks and reflections back to the Bible. When it comes to the astrology portion of it, it does what a lot of other astrology books does: show don't tell don't show. It's just telling you this, but it's not showing you how to get there. So you can't be 100% true or accurate to if what he's saying is true. There are a lot of terms, like for example, he said ending degrees. when
Right.
it comes, when it comes towards ending degrees, I don't, me personally, and most astrologers that I know that are very good, don't use ending degrees as simple as how he's saying it. For mostly people who use Hindu astrology might consider using ending degrees because they have certain alignments in the stars that will point towards an ending degree. Not just because a planet is in an ending degree, aka 28 to 29 degrees, means that that's a bad thing. A lot of astrology books will tell you that. That's not actually true, especially if you use tropical astrology. If using Hindu astrology, there are some cases where that will be right. If using tropical astrology, the main four things that are going to determine whether or not something is going to be bad when it comes to tropical astrology, remember, is going to be where the planet is and what aspect that planet is making to another planet. So remember, if it was in fall, if it was in detriment, if it was and what does combust mean? Let me tell you all what combust mean. If a planet is too close to the sun, if a planet is within like 1 to 2 degrees, 5, 10 degrees of the sun, some people want to make it as big as some people want to say if a planet is in the same sign as the sun, as big as that, which is the 30-degree range. I don't say it's that big, but if a planet is definitely conjunct, which is at the same degree as the sun. The sun is at 2 degrees and you have Mars at 2 degrees. That is for a fact a planet that is combust. Combust is the sun is basically engulfing that planet. It's burning up all of its good qualities or all its good aspects, making it a lot harder for that individual, or making it a lot harder for the individual to get good at that portion of life, or making them have to work harder to get that portion of life. So Mars is being a leader. So having Mars combust might mean it may take you longer in life to get to a leadership role or position, or to act like a leader in your life. That's what being combust is. And again, all that is just an aspect between a planet and the sun. A planet, like John brought up earlier, a Pluto and Saturn aspect coming together. That's a very powerful aspect. That could be very bad. In some cases, that can mean you're out of here. In some cases, that can straight up mean you're out of here. You're done. That's how powerful that aspect can be. And I know electional astrology is mainly used in tropical. Not that Hindu or Vedic astrologers don't use it, but it's mainly used in tropical. Be very wary when people say, um, you know, oh, at this degree, when at this moon phase, because if they don't give you outright, here's my formula of how I'm calculating this, I guarantee you, they have an aspect or transit in their chart that you can find using the aspects alone. They have an aspect in their particular chart for which is why they say, oh, when at these degrees is going to happen to everybody. No, in your life, in your chart, at those degrees, those things happen. That's why you see it. This is why so many astrologers have different who in these books have different says on why things happen. They're actually looking at events happening in their own life and saying, oh, that event applies to all forms of astrology. No, that is something specific to your life, your aspects, your planetary positions, and the transits made to you. I have it for me personally. Every time it's a fixed season, whether it's Aquarius season, Leo season, Taurus season, or Scorpio season, I am at risk for a car accident because I have bad aspects in the fixed signs. I have bad aspects to cars, Jupiter, and accidents, Uranus. I have a bad aspect between them in the fixed sign. So every time a fixed sign comes up, I'm at risk. for a car accident. And every time I've had a car accident, it's been during a fixed sign. That is something that applies towards me. Everybody has something like that, good or bad, in their life, in their chart. Just don't get to the point where you're studying astrology and you see that to be like, oh, like he said, every time it's the end of October, November. That's not true. That's something in your life, in your chart. I guarantee there's something like that happening in his chart. If I were to look at his chart and say, yeah, around late,
March and June.
yeah, late March and June, between Aries season and Taurus season, that's when that's gonna happen to you. Something like that, yeah.
Seasonal affect disorder.
Yeah.
Just the idea of something to consider to think about. In Benatti's, this is talking about improving the condition. In Benatti's recognition of the condition he calls escaped, we see one example of what I prioritize as improving the condition. Other examples might be a planet just having left retrograding, um, a planet fairly late in sign, but going into a sign of greater dignity, a planet already separating from a malefic, a planet applying to be a benefic. Okay. Let me just go through notes. Something relevant has to be done at the time of the electional. Okay. I'll come back to that because we run out of time.
Yeah.
Actually, we could pick up where we left off with this. I just want to get the ball rolling. At some point, we get into looking at some examples.
Yeah, we get good, and I could already see, is that an even chart? Does it look, oh yeah, so it's uneven. So that's the type of chart system I told people to stray or be very wary of when it comes to tropical astrology. When it's an uneven chart system and they're not giving you actual examples of how to do it, they're just showing you chart pictures and telling you this is what it means. Be very wary of that. Don't over harp on their examples. Use it as like a reference point. But books like electional astrology, those first couple chapters, fire in terms of how it was breaking down.
That's the same chapter.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But those first
Yeah.
parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, let's wrap it up right now. We come back to this later on in the week. Actually, I'm going to save the page with where we was at.
They put a
So,
bookmark or something in there so we know where to pick up from.
yep.
And this was electional astrology part one, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed. We're gonna be back next time with more. But right now we got stuff that we're gonna get done. And I'm Chris. I'll catch y'all next time.
Oh, it's my turn. This is John. I holla at y'all. All right.
All right. Peace, everybody.
Peace.